Guys, today we'll be reviewing Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars, today we'll be going over no spoilers, so there won't be no plot spilled over you like every other review, because we'll be talking about the movie itself. Star Wars Episode 5 was revolutionary like the first film. Of course, it can't be revolutionary twice, but it did add some of the more key characters in Star Wars. Like, of course, they added Yoda, easily quite possibly one of the coolest characters in the prequels. And they also added Randall as a character in the Star Wars canon. And of course, they introduced the Emperor. They introduced all these characters that basically are important to Episode 6 and all the other Star Wars films in general. They also made more... it was also kind of a more dark movie as well, being Han Solo at the end because gets sent to Jabba the Hutt as a stone. Yes, that's basically the ending of it, and Luke Skywalker fights Darth Vader. But we'll be going over the summary of the story, because this happens where the rebellion is starting to lose. They're starting to fail, they're starting to lose in the war, so they're on the planet Hoth, basically an icy snow world, and they're basically hiding there so the Empire can't find them, but the Empire finds them anyways. The Empire sends the AT-ATs, and they fight, and they basically barely escape, and the Empire basically follows the Millennium Falcon, and the Millennium Falcon has to be in a meteor, while Luke goes to the planet to get Yoda, find Yoda, and Yoda is on the planet, and they look for Yoda, but they don't know he is there. They see a weird green creature, but they don't know that's Yoda, which that is Yoda, actually. And basically, the guys escape from the meteor, and they have to escape the Empire. And basically, once they escape the monster, they have to find a way to escape the Empire. So they basically hide with the Empire fleet, and basically after they hide and invade and get away from the Imperial fleet, they go away from the Floating and to travel to the Floating Cloud City on Bespin. Meanwhile, the diminutive creature reveals to be Yoda, one of the most important characters in Star Wars, as he's basically the Jedi Master. He knows of all the Jedi, and he is also in the next one, but which he reveals the truth, which is a real part of this film. Basically, Boba Fett and Lando meet somewhat time before their arrival, and basically they go to the place and they use the plan to use the group to rule out Luke as bait, and basically intending to capture him alive and take him to the Emperor, which happens in the next film. Luke sees a premise of his friends being in pain. Against the wishes of Yoda and Obi-Wan, he abandons his training to rescue them. Vader attempts to hold Luke in suspended animation, but of course, Han is chosen as a test subject. And of course, he's given to Jabba the Hutt, which the Empire succeeds at doing, because Jabba the Hutt wanted to have him as a decoration or something. But basically, they tried. Randall was secretly was not with the Empire and decided and was only doing that for business, to keep himself alive and his country and Bespin, the Floating Cloud City, alive. And basically, they have to now fight all these stormtroopers since they all lose because they all stink at aiming and stuff. But basically, meanwhile, Luke arrives and fights Vader. That leads to them over to Elsaft, and Luke's right hand is cut off, and then Vader, of course, reveals that he is the father. And of course, it's one of the most misquoted lines in cinema history. It's not "I am your father," it's "I am the father." So basically, it's one of the most misquoted lines in history, but Luke basically intentionally falls into the Elsaft because he doesn't want to do anything with this, and he basically grabs onto the antenna, and Leia finds out he's still alive, and they go save Luke, and Luke is saved. And of course, the other guy, Han Solo, is already with the Jabba the Hutt as a stone wall decoration. Basically, they escape and they're chased by the ships, and they activate the hyperdrive, allowing them to escape. And they are now in a medical thing, and Luke's severed hand is replaced with a robotic hand. And of course, Luke, Lando, and Chewbacca set off for Tatooine in the Falcon in order to find Jabba the Hutt. As the Falcon departs, Luke, Leia, and R2-D2 and C-3PO, of course, they look at the galaxy away and roll for Lando, which is the ending of the film, which basically leaves you at a cliffhanger. The best thing about this film is the "I am your father," of course, moment, and the introduction of Lando and Yoda as characters in Boba Fett, which he's also introduced. And then we have, of course, the cliffhanger. The film intentionally probably leaves people on cliffhanger, because we don't know if because we have a problem first before we can defeat the Empire. We know there's one more episode after this, so they have to save the guy. They have to save Solo from that Jabba the Hutt. And this is actually the only film without him appearing as a character. But Jabba the Hutt is like this one character that you should not mess with. That's what they're implying. But Jabba the Hutt eventually does lose, and he eventually does die in the next film. Because that's basically how it is, and that's basically because the next film is Return of the Jedi, which, of course, I spoiled parts of the film for you. Basically, Jabba the Hutt's now dead. And now, basically, Luke studies the Force, and basically there is a more... of course, Darth Vader is looking for Luke Skywalker again, because he wants to find his son to turn him to the bad side. So what we'll be talking about, is this film, does it, like most old films, does this film live up to today? Yes, it does, like the first film. I would rather watch this than watch the new movies that they are coming out with. This film has, of course, great story, it has great acting with the exception of the Stormtroopers. Because the Stormtroopers are notorious for they're not so great acting in some of the movies, like the first one and episode 5. Sometimes the Stormtroopers do some weird stuff, and sometimes they miss on purpose and stuff. But basically, if you like Star Wars, you would like this film. If you, of course, hate space movies for some odd reason, if you hate Star Wars, if you hold a grudge against movies in general, then don't watch this. But if you want to watch this, if you haven't already seen these movies, I would probably watch this one. But watch the first one or the prequels first, because those come before number 4. But then if you watch prequels first, you'll basically be spoiling episode 5's plot twist for you. Because episode 1 through 3 kind of spoils Anakin becoming Darth Vader, which is Luke's father. And of course, it's widely regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. Which we all know sometimes some of these greatest films of all time are not really that great. Like that other boring movie about space that came out 30 to 40 years ago. And basically, if you like Star Wars and you like this film, I would give this film a solid 8 or a 9 out of 10. Easily probably one of the better. It's easily way better than the prequels, of course. But like the last film, it's a pretty good film that you could watch. And if you like the space movies, it's a pretty good film.